Alright folks, what we have over here is the Prilepin chart. The Prilepin chart was actually done by a researcher, specifically in the Eastern Bloc in the 60s, looking at the total amount of attempts at different percentage ranges that Olympic lifters typically tended to do, and what seemed to be the optimal amount of attempts they would do within a given percentage range in a training session in order to elicit an appropriate training effect. So, if we're looking at the chart, we can see what percentage we're having someone do, how many reps they're doing per set, followed by the total volume range, so this is the total number of repetitions in that range, and the optimum number of reps to do within that percentage range. So obviously, we're not having to do near as many total reps at 90 to 100% of our max as we are at 60 to 70. Now notice the sets, or the set number is not in fact set or given guidelines. But the rep number per set is kept to be lower because this was mostly only meant to be done with the Olympic lifts. Now, obviously, it's been extrapolated to the strength lifts, but it gives us a good idea of how much work we should be having someone do at different percentages of their max. So, for example, if we were to have an athlete train and say we want them to do 75% for, let's say, 4 sets of 5, that's going to give us a grand total volume of 20 repetitions that day, which puts us on the slightly high end, but not that high. At the same time, if we were to go and do 90% of our max for, let's say, something like 10 doubles, that's 20 total reps and puts us well above the optimal and well above the volume range, what we consider to be sensible training. So when you're looking at your programs, ask yourself the total amount of work that you're having people do, along with the percentage you're having them work them in, is this appropriate? Now, obviously, we're not going to do every single set at the exact same the exact same percentage, and we're going to warm up, especially if we're going to be doing work in the 80 to above percentage range. So we could do 1 set of 5 at 60%, 1 set of 5 at 70%. So notice that's going to give us 10 reps in that range. Then we're going to do, let's say, a set of 3 at 80%. So that's going to put us 3 reps further in that range. And then finally, we're going to do, let's say, 3 doubles at 85%. Well, that's going to be 6 reps in the 80-90% range. We're going to say 5 reps in the 70-80% range, because we're going to downgrade it a little bit, along with 10 reps in that 60 to 70% range. So altogether, that gives us 21 reps, but if we look at how it's spread over the different volume ranges, that gives us a pretty good total amount of training volume, and that's another way to conceptualize this chart. And we want to make sure that we're, once again, giving enough stimulus on an athlete that they're going to get better, but at the same time, not so much we're going to break them down. We're going to be in the lower part of the range whenever we're in something like a taper or peaking, and we're going to be in the high part of the range whenever we're doing some accumulation work where we're actively trying to get the athletes to do a high volume, as opposed to whenever we're just trying to optimally train them. This would be pre-season, where we want them to be doing enough work to get better, but not so much work that we're worried about eliciting too much fatigue.